Hey, everybody, welcome to the Avenus Hoops podcast. I'm Dustin, and today we have the head men's coach for Andrews University, Jared Rusher. Jared, welcome to the Avenus Hoops podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good to be here today.
So, Jared, tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up not too far from Andrews, actually. I grew up in a small town, Buchanan, Michigan, which is right down the road. My dad is actually one of the first coaches that was here at Andrews. So that was kind of my first exposure to Andrews. And I used to travel around with the team and the choir. And that was just always
Wow.
a fun experience as a kid.
So when was that?
That was mid 90s. So I want to say like between like 93 and 95 or
Okay.
96 around that time. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And then, so what was your basketball journey like from watching your dad coach at the college level? What was your journey like?
oh man, it's just basketball has always been kind of an outlet for me. Around that same time, my parents were getting divorced. So, kids going through painful experiences and you're just looking for something that you can kind of latch on to. And every little kid, their dad is their hero. And so with your dad being a basketball coach, and as much as I love basketball, it's just like, to me, it was just the greatest thing in the world. He was Coach K as far as I was concerned. And so that experience, just I kind of always knew I wanted to be a coach because of that experience. And I'd be on the sideline taking stats and drawing up my own plays on paper and just the whole nine. And so it carried me through high school, where I played my high school ball at Buchanan. We were ranked number 2 in the state 2 years in a row. We had a really good run up to the Final Four, fell short. And then in college, I played a year of JUCO ball at KVCC. And then I played a year of ball here at Andrews again. I found myself back at Andrews.
Wow.
Yep, and I played some semi-local, semi-pro stuff. Played in a pro-am in Nashville, and just kind of always coached and played all through my 20s and early 30s. I kind of hung the sneakers up and picked up the clipboard full time. So I've been coaching for about 15 years and
Wow.
playing for about 30.
So what year did you play at Andrews?
2009. So it was actually the first year that they hung up a banner. We went to the Elite Eight and we fell short on a buzzer beater.
And
And yeah,
this
that
is
was the one year that I did.
USCAA,
Yeah, USC AA. Yeah,
and you guys
Division Two.
and you still are competing in that same level now. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so for me, that's one of the big points of emphasis as a coach, is to kind of elevate the program. Like you just said, we're still at this level. Well, why is the question? Why are we not improving? So that's kind of my goal, is to get us to the next level and then to whatever the level is after that. And, hopefully at least into the NAIA before my term here is up.
What position did you play?
Uh, Loaded question there. So in high school, I pretty much played all 5 positions. My main position was center, standing 5'8", if you can believe that. And then in college it was point guard. Everywhere else it was point guard. So
So how did tell us the story of how you got connected to Andrews this time around?
well, my coaching career took me to Southwestern Michigan College, which is about a half hour away from here, right up the road. And Southwestern Michigan is another storied local program in the area. Unfortunately, in the late 90s, they had an incident that caused them to remove all athletics. And it was supposed to be a temporary thing. And I guess in the process of that self-imposed suspension, they switched presidents, and the new president wasn't really fond of bringing the athletics back. So athletics was just iced for about 30 years. So about 3, 4 years ago, they got a new president. He wanted to bring athletics back, and he made a huge push. And he brought athletics back. So I was a part of the resurgence of athletics at SMC. So it was awesome to continue that relationship with Andrews from a competitive perspective, because that's also something I always did at the high school level as a varsity coach. I always made sure we put them on the schedule, whether it was the academy, whether it was a scrimmage or an actual season game. And so when we got to college, I just kind of carried that over and said, hey, why don't we play Andrews? They're right up the road. I'm familiar there. And then I believe they had some coaching woes last year. So I think they went through three coaches in 1 year. And they didn't have a great season.
You're talking about
About
Andrews.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Andrews is about 2-22. And so I kind of I've always kept my eye on Andrews, been around it. And so when I heard about the coaching roles, I reached out to the athletic director and said, hey, are you guys looking for a new coach? And here I am.
Is there any switch in your mind when you go from a 2-year junior college to a 4-year, university? Um, is there going to be a difference for you in how you approach everything from player development when you have maybe only 1 or 2 years in JUCO versus maybe several years at the university level?
Absolutely, man. It's a bit of a microwave in that 2 year window because like you said, you only get them a couple of years. The good thing about it is that we offer scholarships at that level, so you can get a lot of local talented kids, and I have a lot of great relationships for coaching the last 15 years, pretty much all locally, except for a short stint I did when I was in Huntsville, Alabama, and yeah, so that the recruiting process is a lot easier at the junior college as opposed to being somewhere that doesn't necessarily offer any athletic scholarships. But from the perspective here is that I can develop talent, and that's one of the things that kind of carved out a niche for myself in the basketball community is as a developing coach. So
So, what's that pitch like for you? Because I will say from afar, it looks like you're dialing up recruiting, which is great. So, how have you been doing that?
man, to be honest, kind of my mission statement that I do for coaching period is bigger than basketball, it's deeper than basketball. And so one of the first things I always tell all my teams is, you guys aren't my players, you're my sons. And my staff isn't my staff, they're not under me, they're my brothers. So it's a family oriented environment. And having been exposed to a lot of basketball, good and bad, a lot of good and bad coaches, players, the whole nine. You see a lot of times that guys just don't have a great experience, whether it's their fault, somebody else's fault, whether there's politics involved. I mean, it's you see everything. And so my pitch to guys is that uh, I resonate with you, and you're not just going to come here and just be a cog in the system. You're going to be a part of a family, and I'm going to develop you. Um, part of my pitch for recruiting is my coaching philosophy as well. So like my coaching philosophy is I call it constants and variables. And so I look at it like this, like you have constants of the game, things that don't change, and then you have the variables, things that you can change in a timeout like this. And so we focus on the constants of the game, like can you play the game? So the one way that I frame it to guys is like, hey, if you have LeBron, KD, Anthony Edwards, Kyrie, and Jokic on a team, you can go pick up a homeless guy that's never seen a basketball in his life and coach that team. And they're going to beat a team that has Coach K, but they got all the kids that got cut at a Division III school, like 9 times out of 10. So what is the common ground there? It's talent. And so we focus on talent. No matter who you're playing, what level, you got to be able to dribble, got to be able to shoot, got to be able to pass, rebound, communicate. Those are things of the game that just don't change. Now, things like your playbook, that's going to change on a night to night basis, depending on who you're playing against. Shots aren't falling. You could draw something up in the timeout. And if you got good enough players with a high enough IQ, they're going to be able to execute a play that they've never seen that you drew up in a timeout. So not to say that we don't focus on the X's and O's of the game, because we definitely do, but we spend more focus on developing talent. And so as you see through a lot of my teams, and you can go ask the guys, and this is what I tell people, go ask the guys that have played for me. They have a great experience. They feel like part of the family. They either call me pops or coach the rest of their life. And we're going to work hard. We're going to have fun. We're going to win a lot of games. That's my pitch. And God, that's why we play the game. As a hooper, you love the game, right? You just want to come and play. You want to have a good time. And you want to know that you're getting better. And everybody doesn't always know that in a system. And so I look at it top to bottom. If my 12th guy is not competing with my sixth guy by the end of the year, I'm doing something wrong. I'm not developing that kid. And he came to me because he loved the game and he trusted me with his game, you know? And that's my pitch, man.
Beautiful. You mentioned earlier that the place you were at before had scholarships, and you kind of contrasted that. So I'm inferring that you don't have scholarships available at Andrews. Am I off base on that, or is it partial? Or
No, so yeah, they don't offer any athletic scholarships whatsoever here.
so that makes it difficult, right? I mean, that's got to be so. Will you what do you what is someone that is maybe not familiar with Andrews or the area? Like, what are you pitching to them after all of what you've said as far as Andrews? What do you, because you were a student there for a year, so like, what are you pitching them as far as the community, the education that they're getting? Like, what, that's a tough. I'm just saying, it's like it's a challenging pitch for sure.
Right, right. And that's a great question, man. So, and I get that a lot. It's like, and I ran into that. I had some kids turn me down just because of the money issue in general. And the beautiful thing about Andrews is it is a microcosm of the world because top seven in cultural diversity in the world, university. So you get people from all over the world. You get exposed to a little bit of everything. You get exposed to something different. And for me, basketball has always been a ministry, even when I was in the public school system, you know? And so that's a big part of everything that I do. And so here it's open. I don't have to not necessarily hide it, but I don't have to mask it. And like in the public school system, I was told you can read out of the Bible. You just can't tell them that it's out of the Bible, as ridiculous as that sounds. And so we would always pray before and after games and things like that. But I would always have to tell guys, hey, if you don't feel comfortable praying, you don't have to be in here during this portion. Just step out for a minute. Never once had anybody step out or anything like that. But the fact that I had to do those things in that setting for legal reasons, and being here, I could be open with them. You know what I mean? So I could be more transparent, which is another thing about my culture is that I'm extremely transparent. If you're sitting at the end of the bench, you know exactly why you're sitting.
Hmm.
So it's not a guessing game. You know what you have to do to get into them as well. So that transparency is big.
The junior college you were at before was SVCC, is that right? Or
SMC.
SMC?
Yep. Southwestern Michigan College.
Southwestern Michigan College. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah,
So
no
you
problem.
had some experience there, basically creating a brand new program. And is that right? If I remember
Yeah.
that right, yeah.
So I was the assistant there. So I do want to make that clear. I was the
Sure.
assistant. I wasn't the head coach, but I was definitely a part of that process. Yeah.
And now you find yourself, like you mentioned, I wasn't going to bring up the record, but you brought up the record, 2-22 last year. So I mean, a tough year for sure. So in some ways, you find yourself in a similar situation because you're rebuilding a program that had a tough year, maybe a couple of tough years over the last few. So what is your approach? Because losing is hard. It's hard on the psyche. It's hard on the mind. What are you doing psychologically, culture building wise, to kind of leave that in the past and move forward?
Yeah, I'm glad that you said two key words: mindset and culture. And that's everything. Like that is absolutely
You could
100%
put that on a
everything.
T-shirt, Coach.
I I know, right? Your idea, man. Go ahead. Adventist hoops on the front, culture and mindset on the back. But no, man, to be serious, like it's not my first rebuild. My first high school varsity coaching job was a rebuild where I think they won less than 3 games in the 2 years prior to me taking over. And after my second year, which was the COVID year, we were ranked number 10 in the state with a group with 7 freshmen on it. And so I'm not afraid to do hard things. So, for example, with that program in my first year, I walked in there and I see all these kids, and it's a very small school. It's Class D, which is like the lowest level in Michigan. And like, see all these kids 6'4", 6'5". I'm like, man, what Class D school has all these 6'4", 6'5" athletes, and they can't win a game? And the athletic director turned to me and said, "Oh, you'll see." And it was all culture and mindset. So I go into it trying to develop skill and work ethic and all of that. And within a matter of weeks, I just settled on, look, man, like I want to treat this like Gideon, and I want the guys who want to be here. Like, and if you don't want to be here and you don't want to work, uh, you're on a three-strike basis. So after probably midway through the season, half the team struck out, JV and varsity. And so I just said, all right, this is what we're gonna do. You guys are cut. What's left over from JV, which was like six guys, and we had like five from varsity, and they weren't all the top five. It was like, all right, we're gonna go with this, and we're gonna work with the people who want to work. And I don't care if we don't win a game the rest of the season. I'm willing to lose with the people that I could build with, because I know that we're gonna win after that. And so I would bring the eighth grade guys into our varsity practices, and they would watch and they would sit. And then throughout the summer, we took them on a travel basketball circuit, and we literally got smashed at almost I don't know if we even won more than two or three games the whole summer. But I preach to those kids, look, it's mindset. I'm trying to teach you guys to be winners mentally. And so if you can learn to play at this pace, that's the goal. If you can not quit, that's the goal. If you can learn whatever concept we're focusing on, that's the goal. And if we do those things, we're going to build the foundation. And if you play this schedule now, when you go back into your season, man, it's going to be a cakewalk. And it absolutely was. We knocked off the number 3 ranked team in the state in our building, and it was insane. And so that alone was just a great experience, and helping rebuild that culture. And it was a storybook season as well, because we had told those guys at the beginning of the year, there's a school in the area called River Valley. And we had heard that these kids had been playing together from like second grade, and this was their year to go far in the tournament. They're in our district in the playoffs. So I told them from day one in tryouts, we're preparing to beat River Valley at the end of the season in the district championship. We're going to shock the entire state. Like, nobody's going to see this coming. And all throughout the year, everything we did was in preparation for River Valley. It was like, hey, you're not going to be able to get away with that when you play RV. You're not, and that was the marker. That was our compass the entire year. Lo and behold, we get to the end of the season. COVID starts happening during district week. So we played district week. We won the first game on Monday. We win the second game on Wednesday. Friday's rolling around. We're getting ready to play. That's when the country shut down, was that morning. And we were playing RV in the district championship.
Mm.
And so I said all that to say, again, I'm not afraid to do the hard things to put culture in place, to build work ethic, to build mindset. One of the other things that we did auxiliary to on the court stuff is these kids are inner city kids that are getting bussed into a rural city that is not always fond of minorities. And so it's a tough environment for them to be in general. And it's hard for them to get to class and do everything else. So we built this program called Basketballs, Brothers, and Backpacks. And basically on game days, we would come in and we would have a mindset piece. And I brought in the guidance counselor, and we built a program to teach them how to get a purpose over their life. Like, that was the whole mission, for them to understand their purpose and build goals and set goals and understand where they wanted to go outside of basketball. Like, what do you want to do in life? How do you learn? Like, what are you interested in? What are you good at? What kind of money do you make? Where do you want to live? Things like that. And so we built that program, Basketball Brothers and Backpacks. And on game days, we would do that for an hour. We would watch film for 30 or 40 minutes, and then we would go get shots up and then either get on the bus and leave or go get ready for the game. And then in addition to that, we did a college exposure tour. And exposure is huge in changing people's mindset, because if you want to do anything in life, you got to get exposed to it to even know that it's possible, for you to be able to do it. A lot of these kids, they don't think it's possible for them to get out of their hometown. A lot of people don't leave the city, and they end up, dead or in jail, unfortunately. And I'm getting these kids, and we're taking them on a college exposure tour. They're meeting college basketball coaches, going on campuses, and that was big. So between the mindset stuff and the skill work that we did in the development throughout the season in the summer, the basketballs, brothers, and backpacks helped build the foundation for the culture that we were trying to build. That it's bigger than basketball. We're a family, and I want you to be successful in life. And everything you learn on the basketball court will translate to your success in life. And then the college exposure tour, even getting them on campus and telling them, hey, when these people are giving us tours, you got to have at least two questions ready for them on a notebook so that they're learning to network and communicate and, all the things in a professional environment that they otherwise would never even be exposed to. And so carrying that into Andrews, obviously, it's a different set of problems that these kids have. And so right now, we're in the middle of figuring out, okay, what's broken in the culture here to why we can't win games, and how do we fix it? And it may not be a basketballs, brothers, and backbacks approach that these kids need here, but it's tailoring that mindset to build something here to help them understand how they can be successful on the basketball court and in life and build some perseverance.
Wow. You telling that story, it just reminds me that the best coaches, yes, they probably know what they're doing strategy wise, but in my experience, the best coaches that I know truly care about their players, not just like how they're doing, but they're invested in their success in life and in their personal development. I can give you an example of coaches at Adventist high schools, Adventist colleges, non-Adventist as well, that you look at them and like, boy, they have a successful program. And every time the thing that accompanies that is a person that truly cares about all of their players. And so I feel like you telling that story and just hearing your professional experience as far as coaching goes, it seems like you're a great person for the job there at Andrews. And you mentioned, the vision that you had for those kids at the high school you were coaching at. What is your vision for Andrews University basketball?
Man, that's a great question. I'm a dreamer, right? But I'm not just a dreamer. Like, I keep my head in the clouds, but I keep my feet on the ground to keep moving, to keep pushing. And so my vision is to win national championships. My vision is to, if kids want to play overseas when they're done playing here, I have the connections because I built those connections when I was playing and through my coaching career and other things like that. And so my vision is to bring these guys' vision to life. Whatever that looks like. Do you want to coach? Do you want to play? Is this the only thing you want to do and you're done after this? Or what is it? But I want to give kids an opportunity. Kids who uh, in a place like this where they don't offer scholarships, I'm not going to get the most talented kids. Like, it's just not, because money talks, right? And there's other places that are going to say, hey, man, you're going to go to Andrews and play for that guy. And yeah, you have a great time. And yeah, you get better. But you're going to be, it's a $40,000 ticket to go there. Come here and we'll pay for it and you ain't got to worry about it. And so what I'm going to get is the kids who fall through the cracks. And I have a heart for those kids, right? Like, so it's like, okay, I'll take it. I don't, just like I took that job in Eau Claire where I was at. I'll take the job. I'll take the kids that nobody wants. I was a dean of students, and people would always say, well, what does a dean do at a high school? And I say, we deal with the kids that nobody wants to deal with. And so I feel like God has curated me my entire life to be in environments and situations like this. So if I'm going to get the kids that nobody's offering the money to, I'm going to pour into them in a way that the people who are offering those kids money are not going to pour into those kids because they already poured into them with this.
Mm.
So I'm going to pour into you where it matters. And we're going to go out and we're going to beat the teams that paid to get players.
I love it. Well, just so you know, there's 8 Adventist colleges in the U.S. and none of them offer full scholarships. So you're
Yeah.
not alone. Many of them offer at least partial, so that's something. But yeah, it's definitely a struggle. And actually, I think one of our last episodes was about that topic with a few of our different Adventist colleges discussing scholarships and recruiting and stuff like that. Um, I was going to go back to what you were talking about when you were telling that story from high school or when you were coaching in high school, doing the hard thing and setting the culture, even when it means, um, you know, turning people away when they've made those decisions that they don't want to be a part of what you're building. How hard is it to do those things? It's not easy. I'm sure there was some kids and some parents and whoever that was not happy through some of
Oh,
that process.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that wasn't the only experience I had with that. I think a better example of a situation like that is the next place that I was a head coach at. So it's a place that's known for having talent. Um, but when I was told when I took the job, I'll put it like this, by parents and teachers, that the group that you have, you're walking into a mess and you're walking into a headache. And that's what you have to deal with. And so, in short, our best player, 6'5", ridiculously athletic, glides through the air, built, he's got a Division I body, right? And but he didn't want to assimilate to the culture that we were trying to get to. So we kicked him off the team. And then his mother called back and talked to me, and we talked it over, and we brought him back within a matter of days, kicked him out again. So mom calls me, and I said, "Look, um, I'm trying to establish something here, and I can't do that if I can't coach my best players. Like, I'm a firm believer that if you can't coach your best player, you can't coach any of these kids. And if you're not willing to coach your best player, you're sending the wrong message to the rest of the kids, and you are creating dissension and discord in the rotation and in the roster and within that unit. So if I don't grab the bull by the horns and get you under control, I'll never get anything." And so I told her, I'll leave it up to the team if they want. So the team voted, split decision. Last kid voted him in, and it was all anonymous. And we brought him back. And I benched him because all of this happened before the season started. I benched him, and I said, until you get it together up here, I don't care. You could be Michael Jordan. You're going to sit on that bench. And so I benched him, and I think we started the season 1-4. And this is a team that had won like 11 out of the last 12 district championships, starting the season 1-4 with a brand new coach who's not from the town, which is unusual for the town. And I didn't have a lot of fans in the beginning, but there was a switch that flipped with the kid. And I think he just understood what we were trying to establish and build. And he flipped the switch. And like overnight, he took the team, and the team just got behind him. We won the next 16 games. And I think you could look this up in a newspaper article, by like an average of 27 points or something like that. And it was all because he, got it together and he led the team, which is what we were trying to tell him in the first place. Like, look, if you become coachable, if you assimilate to the culture, everybody else is going to fall in line because it's a pecking order. Like it's a basketball team is a wolf pack. This is why we have captains. So he got it. He got himself under control, and we had a phenomenal season after that. And it was great. And so to answer your question, how hard is it to do the hard things? To me, it's not, because that's my compass. With other people, their compass is other things. There's other things that's important. But for me, also being a coach's kid and being the kid that when I played, it was I'll do whatever we need to do, which is how I ended up playing center. I was a point guard my whole life, and then something happened. I can't remember. Somebody got hurt, and my coach came to me and said, "Hey, do you want to play power forward for a couple of games?" And then a couple of games turned into 3 years playing power forward and center. So my mindset is I'll do whatever to make the team win. Whereas other people will say, I'll do whatever to win, no matter what that sacrifice is. And in the end, you don't become winners and you don't create winning culture You create a "I'll do whatever it takes" mindset, which is not winning. But you have to have a mindset of trust the process, build a foundation, do the things that create winners, and focus on those steps, and you will win as a byproduct. And that's my approach. And to me, that's why it's not hard to do those hard things.
Who are you looking to on your roster this year to take that leadership role, as you mentioned in that story you just told? Who are going to be those kids that are going to lead?
Man, that's a great question. And again, I go back to I want everybody to be a leader in their own right. And so I honestly look at guys who were leaders on the team last year to step up, and that would be like Mugabe Manani, who actually had a serious injury, and so he played injured the majority of the year last year, and Caleb Braswell to be returners who have that leadership mindset. But for guys who are new to the team, there's Ian Oching, who is kind of a big alpha on the team, man. Has a big presence that he brings with him, brings a lot of confidence, which we like. And we have Mari Nichols, who played for me at SMC for a couple of years, who also played for me in high school when I was an assistant at Niles High School. He played for me there. And then I would say Andre Creighton, who Andre is technically a returning Cardinal. He took like a year off last year, so he wasn't on the team last year. And then when I was introduced to the team, he met me and we decided it's time for him to come back. And so those five guys, I think, really have the leadership DNA to take our team to the next level.
What style is your team going to play this year, if you had to
Oh,
describe it?
man. Oh, man. Like, I coach the way I like to play, man. I like to have fun, and I believe if you're not having fun, you shouldn't be doing something. Work hard, have fun, win a lot of games, right? And so we're going to play up tempo. We play free. We have a lot of sets and stuff that we run, but our sets are designed to get guys looks where they're comfortable at. And so I have a firm approach that like I'm not a cookie cutter guy where it's like, oh, if you don't fit my system, I don't got a spot for you. No, I'll find a spot for you because if you're playing at the college level, you can do something, right? And so I'll figure it out and then I'll mold the offense around my personnel. And so we play free, try not to be robots out there. We're going to get up and down the floor. We're going to play aggressive defense. And we want to put on a show every night, man. Win, lose, or draw, it's going to be an exciting contest. So,
What kind of size are you facing? Now, but I was going to ask too, are you playing USC AA opponents for most of your games, or just are you sort of mostly independent, but also are part of USCA for some of your games?
it's a huge mix, man, to be honest. So we've got NCAA. I think we got one small Division 1 on the roster on the schedule. We've got one or two D2s. We've got
Hold on a second.
a,
Did they play any D2, D1 schools in the past couple of years?
yeah,
They
yeah.
did.
They
Okay.
played a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we got some D3s. We got a lot of JUCOs, and I think we have about like 8 to 10 USC AA teams scheduled.
Oh
Or
yeah, never
games, I
mind.
should say, because
I
a
was
lot
looking
of
at
them we played twice.
I was looking at the schedule from last year. So I guess Purdue, Fort Wayne, that was probably an Indiana University Northwest. Those are probably a
Yeah,
couple of those bigger schools there. Um,
yeah.
so in general, my what I was getting at is how are you going to stack up size wise against a lot of the teams that you're playing?
Well, at the beginning of the season, we started with a 7 footer and a 6'9". And the 7 footer went down with a huge injury about a week ago.
No. Ugh.
Kind of a freak accident, so that killed us. And he's a 3 year guy that I was really looking at to be helpful for us on defense and on the glass. And he's a good facilitator. And then we have a 6'9" guy that transferred in from Walla Walla. And he has run into a lot of health issues as of late. So we haven't really been able to develop him the way that we would have liked to. And so he's out currently. So our starting center is 6'4".
Oh,
But But you know what? Coming from a guy that was 5'8", that played center, that doesn't scare me, because
Yeah.
I know how to put that in our guys to be competitive with guys that are 6, 7, 8 inches taller than me.
Yeah.
So that doesn't
Well,
scare me at all.
and going faster, I think getting shots when the defense isn't set, that's going to help when you don't have the same sort of size as the other teams. So that should help. That should play into it.
Yeah.
Um, I have a couple more questions for you here. You are assisted by Kelvin Green, who we had on the podcast recently as well. Played Division I basketball. What does he bring to your staff?
Kelvin brings an air of toughness that I think our program needs. He brings the experience, the knowledge from having played at that level and knowing what it takes to play at a higher level. He brings a lot of skill development to the table, and he can help out with bigs, guards, wings. It doesn't matter. So it's a pleasure having Kelvin around. Just a wealth of knowledge. Kelvin is also in the seminary here at Andrews, so he acts as the athletic chaplain. So he takes on a lot of that spiritual aspects component that we have on the coaching staff. So it's great to have Kelvin around.
Awesome. Well, hey, Jared, really appreciate you taking some time to explain like who you are and what you're trying to build there at Andrews. I think it's exciting times for Andrews just because of the experience that you're bringing and the mindset and the culture. T-shirt, I'm telling somebody needs to make that. And wanted to just ask you in closing, kind of a big question, but what does basketball mean to you?
Oh man, ball is life. Ball is life. There's no other way to put it. It's basketball is garnered some of the best relationships that I've been able to create in this life. Basketball has taken me around the country, um, around the globe. Like basketball is everything. It gives me an opportunity to give back in a very natural way. To the next generation, and it bridges that generational gap because that's the common ground. And then we talk about everything else just as a result. And I love it, man. And it's been a major part of my life, my entire life. Like it's all I know, to be honest, and it's all I want to know.
I understand. Hey, nothing but the best for you guys this season. We'll be tracking your progress. Send me some highlights and let's get it going. Andrews
I
Cardinals, Jared
definitely.
Rusher, thank you so much for being on the Having a Soups podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.